What does it feel to belong to a nation in exile? You have no place to call home. You don't really know where you belong in this whole wide world. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mehek. I hope you guys are all fine, and like always, I also hope that you guys are reading. Back with the book of the week that I finished. It's called The Penguin Book of Modern Tibetan Essays. It's edited by Tenzin Dickie. That's how it looks. Now this book is an anthology. It's a collection of 28 non-fiction essays. The essays are penned down by 28 different Tibetan authors from all over the world. Now this book, when we think about Tibet, or at least when I think about Tibet, the first word that comes to my mind is obviously Dalai Lama, monasteries, beautiful landscapes, extreme cold weather. But I think what this book does is it, through the eyes of the different authors who have, contributed to this book, it allows us or gives us a newer perspective of what Tibet actually is, what the nation is all about. There are many themes that although there's a common theme which I'll talk towards the end of all these essays, but these different essays talk about certain things. They talk about, for example, the authors have spoken about, their childhood, which was filled with their rich culture and heritage. However, how that got disrupted when, their nation was encroached by China, and how at that time people had to, take sides. They had to flee their homeland and say goodbye to it forever. And, that led to a host of other things. They, broken relationships, saying goodbye to family, never seeing them again. So some of the essays in the book talk about that exile and what was the feeling of fleeing their own motherland or homeland. The other essays touch upon, for example, broken relationship, lost friends, the lottery system, which is prevalent in Tibet, where you win lotteries that you can actually go and start a new life in US. There are essays on the Prince of Tibet. There are some fun essays of romance and young love, and but majorly also there are essays on the food and the culture and what that looks like. But I think more or less for me, the common theme of all the essays were what does it feel to be in exile. And so either the essays were talking about how people had to leave their home and what does that feel like, or the essays were talking about how are they coping up in the current times, or how are they adjusting after fleeing from their home, in a very different environment, and basically what does it feel like to be a refugee. So I think when you read about their journey, how they had to flee their homeland and how they are now starting again in this absolutely foreign land, and how they never feel truly accepted. They are always called as refugees, or they're made to feel like that, and how they never truly feel that they belong somewhere. And I think when you read about that really pains you. Some of the essays go in detail about talking about how the journey looks like when people escape Tibet and they reach India or Dharamshala via Nepal. That journey is so difficult, and the dangers they encounter in that journey, and then finally what it feels like. Some of them are lured to Dharamshala because obviously of Dalai Lama, but what this journey entails like. So when you read about that, you of course you can't relate to it. Thankfully we are not in that situation, but to just think about that, suddenly you have to get up and you have to say goodbye to your nation, and you never know when you're going to see it back, and this feeling of not truly belonging somewhere. So I think that is a common theme in this book. So these are more or less what these different essays talk about. They talk about the Tibetan culture, the food there, the different topics, like it's talking about what it feels like to grow up in Dharamshala. Like, I found a very interesting an essay which spoke about how when you live in exile in Dharamshala, you have places where people who have fled Tibet, they're living, and you have these exile schools where children come and study from Tibet. How the different classrooms are named after a certain, a figure from their history. So after a particular king or queen or some prominent figure. So they, the guy says, you can actually learn about Tibetan history by these small, small things, like classrooms named after kings and queens, which is quite interesting actually. So yeah, this is what the book is all about. I think for me, while I did enjoy reading about the Tibetan culture and of course some of the journeys of the people, some of them really touches you. But I think because the theme is common, because it's majorly talking about this shared sense of loss and shared feeling among these refugees of not belonging anywhere, it's common and prominent in all the essays. So after a while, because there are 28 different essays, it gets a little monotonous. Some essays do feel dry, so that was my problem with this book. But I think if you're looking for a book to know more about, the journey of the people in exile, and you also, I would say, not a detailed understanding, but if you want some understanding about the Tibetan culture and the nation, I think you can pick this book up. So yeah, that's all on this book. I'm going to see you guys next week with another title. Till then, take care. Bye-bye. And if you like the video, please don't forget to share, subscribe and like. If you have read the book, please let me know in the comments. And if there's any other book that you would like me to read or share the review on, please let me know in the comments. Okay? Bye-bye.